William. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Hammel Outdoors. Today is an exciting one. Me and Mr. William are fishing for 10 big ones. There is 50 boats. All these lights right here are boats. It is currently 6:30. Blast off is at 7. Well, not for us because we are flight 4. We got boat 46 out of 50. And we are fishing the Cass chain of lakes, as I'm sure you guys had seen in the thumbnail. Pre-fishing was pretty stingy. Caught some pretty alright fish. Not a whole lot of them though, so we made a couple adjustments last evening, rigging in the old garage. And hopefully, with a little luck, things go our way and we could be walking home with 10 freaking grand. So, tag along. It should be a fun video. Blast off is going to be absolutely wild. I kind of hope we are in the middle of the pack, but we are not. So, we're just going to be hanging out and having a good time. We're out here having fun, and it's going to be a freaking blast. Tag along. This is going to be a sweet episode. What do you think, William, huh?
This is nuts.
Wilder? I'll give you guys a little game plan once we get to the area of starting, because there's a lot of boats around, and the fish have been stingy, but we have been catching them. So. Alright guys, we are going to start flipping reeds. This is what we had our most success in, is this patch, so that's why we went through the channel to get here. And I'm fairly confident there is no one else on this body of water right now, because with the Cass chain of lakes, there is like 8 or 9 lakes that are fishable for us. So Will's going to start throwing a jig. I am going to start flipping a little beaver tail. Not a giant by any means, but that's fish number 1, and it is 8-11. And he frickin' won. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Nope, it's number 1. For the record, this is the first fish I've landed on the whole entire trip. William's been smacking. Update, wind is starting to pick up. There were some rain clouds in the area. And we are going to a different lake. Still only have the one bass I caught this morning. Had lost one about the same size first couple casts, but the way she goes. This is what I'm pitching. It's just a little Z-Man TRD craw with a small little hook. Hello everybody. I'm sure, as you had seen by the title and the thumbnail of this tournament video on the cast chain of lakes, things did not go quite as planned as me and Mr. William had hoped. Oh, for the record, this is Evander. This is my pup. He'll be joining us in the video. He's just kind of watching Shadows doing his thing. So back to the trip. We got up there Wednesday right around noon, decided to do a little bit of pre-fishing once we got settled at the cabin we were staying at. And to say I was surprised by the fish and the amount of fish that was not great on that body of water is an understatement. We were flipping docks, we were flipping reeds, we were scanning on some offshore stuff, and for the life of me, I could not find any sort of activity anywhere. And so I did some searching, I did some mapping, and finally the next morning, I was able to locate a couple fish in the reeds. We caught one or two maybe, but they were good sized fish. I think the one was a shy over 3, and then the other one was in that 3.5-ish. Never weighed them, whatever, hooked them, let them go. Mark that spot, and the way that I pre-fish, a lot of guys do it differently. Some guys will cut their hooks off, some guys won't even fish it. I will usually fish the area a little bit, catch a fish, mark the spot, and get the heck out of there, save the spot for a derby day. So that was one spot that we had found some fish. That was the only 2 fish we had caught the first full day on Thursday of practice. Going into Friday, William hooked about a 5.5 pounder. I will put the picture right here. That was a heck of a fish, and I want to say we caught one other fish that day on Friday. Again, in the reeds, we caught that 5.5 pounder on an 8-foot weed line, and I'm still trying to figure out why that fish was there, because all the other fish and the fish activity that we have seen was in a maximum of 4-foot reeds, and that was it. And talking to some other anglers, that was all they were seeing as well. And I was getting frustrated and upset with myself because I thought that this body of water would have been loaded with bass. They would have, been chewing whatever. But like I said, I found out that there isn't a massive population of bass in this body of water, but when they do bite, they are freaking big. So that is how pre-fishing went. It was not at all what I expected what it was going to be. It took a lot of digging to at least get a fish to bite and locate the fish in the bodies of water. Like, for an example, we figured out that the more mushier looking sand was where the fish were in the reeds versus clean sand with the reeds, and it was weird that if it was like over 5 or 6 feet in the reeds, they weren't there, which was very deep for the reeds, but we found a couple patches throughout the chain that were on that deeper spectrum of things, and you'd get into a lot of shallower reeds that were a maximum of 2 to 1.5 foot of water. And it was something that I've never really experienced with fish, especially in the northern country. I'm used to Wisconsin, where there's bass freaking everywhere, and you catch them, it's just you have to try to find the bigger ones. Versus at Cass, I seen more walleyes than I seen bass, and I've never been on a body. I was seeing 30 to 40 schools of walleyes in like a 7-foot weed flat, which is just mind-blowing to me. But come to find out, Cass is a big perch, muskie, and walleye fishery. So not necessarily the perch, but I had come to find out that the muskie and the walleye were the big apex predators, versus like in Wisconsin, the bass their population is a lot heavier and size-wise than the pike. So I think that had a lot to do with the bass. But anyway, so Friday fishing, I think we caught 2 fish. We had 4 or 5 fish on the whole trip so far, and I was starting to get frustrated because I didn't have a plan. And so I did some more digging. I was trying to figure out, I looked in the tackle box and decided to do some downsizing on my baits, because I was throwing bigger craws, I was throwing bigger worms. Will caught that one nice fish on a little finesse worm on a rugby jig, which is it's just like a football with a Texas rig or a wide gap hook on it. And that is what he was catching fish. And myself, I did not catch a fish in practice. William caught all the fish in practice. And so that was that. And come into Derby Day, Saturday morning. Oh, for the record, pre-fishing was sunny all 3 days. There was zero wind. It was like 75 degrees. It was gorgeous. Had a sweatshirt on with some shorts and the flops, and it was super nice. I absolutely loved it. Coming to Derby Day, the wind was blowing 20. It was raining, and as well, there was a whole lot of chop out there, and the outside temperature was like low to mid 60s at max versus pre-fishing. I think one day it got into the 80s, so that definitely shook them up a little bit. So going to the tournament, we were boat number 46 out the gate. I had a plan in my mind that I thought we could fill a limit, and so we blasted off from Stony Point, took a hard left, went under the bridge. This bridge is, the beginning of the bridge ain't so bad. There was like a submerged tree in there, so we had to kind of navigate around that. Fished the channel a little bit on the way in because pre-fishing, I did get a couple blow-ups with my whopper plopper on there. Did not hook any of them. Going in, Mr. William was on the front deck when I was idling through. No fish, whatever. So we get out there, get to our first spot, and I'm scanning around, get into the reeds a little bit. I had lost, the first like 20 minutes, I had lost like a 3.5 pounder. Smacked them, hooked into them, but unfortunately fishing reeds, as many of you guys know, when the fish start diving and weaving around, you can pop a hook very easily, and that is exactly what happened. Unfortunately, is that hook pop, lost the fish, whatever, I sweated off, yeah. You know, it obviously stinks when you're in the tournament setting and you lose the fish, but again, it is also fishing, and things like that do happen. I was trying to not have it happen, but you know, sometimes it's just unavoidable, and that was one of those times that happened. As you guys seen in the clip before this, I had hooked into a like 2.5-ish. That was our first fish in the box, and we were jacked up, and this time we were like, yep, we're gonna fill a limit, and we're gonna try to swing for the fences to get that big check. But everything went downhill, down until we hit the bottom. And so whatever, we're fishing, get a couple more bites, no fish. I can't remember if I hooked in or Will hooked in, it don't matter, we lost one. I caught it like a 25-30 inch pike, so again, not something I really want to dealt with on Derby Day. We go, it was like 10 o'clock ish at this time, flying across the water, and it is rougher than heck out there. There is 2 to 3 footers out there, little skeeters just flying up and down, and I didn't even want to film any of it because I was just focused on getting to our spot safely. It was absolutely wild out there. We were trying to kind of hide from the wind a little bit, but with the wind and the waves and everything coming into it, the rain, it was just some hairy water out there. And a lot of the guys with the bigger boats were just flying, but with me with the smaller, with my 19-foot boat, it was just flying and doing all this stuff, and it was absolutely wild. So we get to this other spot, and there was like this little piece of metal that was laying by my foot, and Will grabs, he goes, yeah, I was going to tell you, I don't know what this is. And I'm looking at it, and I'm looking under my steering wheel. I was like, no, it's way too new, you know, like new coated metal to be something from my steering, because obviously I have an older boat, and if it was from there, it'd be a little banged up, junkier looking. And I'm looking, I was like, all right, you know, I'll figure it out. And Will goes to pull the trolling motor up, and it was stuck. So like, okay, so I'm looking, and I finally give it a yank, and here's a big crack pop sound. Never heard anything like that. And come to find out, there's 2 little casted clips on the bottom of my Ultrex that were broken. So now the trolling motor was basically free floating. When it was on the deck, it no locked in, and when it was in the water, it was no locked in. So it was flying up and down in the water. It was on, when I had it in the stowed position, which means when it's folded onto the deck is the easiest way to explain it, you know, when you're going to travel or whatever. It would flop around on there, and it would slide out of the hole where it grabbed onto it, and it was not a fun experience. So I got a little upset with it, and I said screw it. So I pulled the trolling motor up, tried to fish some reeds with the big motor and put the Raptors down, and it was just not working. So at that point, it was like 1:30, and me and Will, I was like, you know what, I'm sick of it, we're done. And I put the boat on the trailer, and we had headed home, because trying to fish shallow water, mind you, these reeds that we were fishing were in anywhere from 2 to 3 foot of water, and we were fishing like a 20-foot span around. I had no trolling motor, and I was getting, yeah, whatever. As anyway, this Minnesota Battle of the Bassheads did not turn out for me and William. The winning bag was 20 and some change, and them boys absolutely smacked it. I don't know the guys who had won it. I'm not familiar with them, but the second place finisher with like 20 and some change was Mr. Tony Lee and his partner. He runs the Minnesota Bassheads Facebook group. Super cool dude. Super happy that him, Mr. Trey Fails with the Dreaded Outdoors, got 5th, and I'm absolutely stoked for him and his partner, because me and him were talking as the week went on, and me and him were both in the same boat, couldn't find any fish, and he rounded up with 17 pounds, and that's a heck of an accomplishment. My buddy Connor O'Connor and his partner Daniel Fabiano only weighed 3 fish for 9 pounds, and they are both phenomenal fishermen, so it was definitely fishing a little bit stingy. So unfortunately, that's derby fishing, man. Things are going to happen. That's fishing in general. You're going to catch them some days, and some days you're not going to. And with me still being a growing angler, especially in the tournament field, it is hard on challenging, stingier bodies of water to find the fish, and that is exactly what happened, unfortunately. But that's the way she goes. Oh my, you guys see that thing? That thing's a moth that's like this big. Golly, that thing's massive. Anyway, so I'm not sure what else I got in store for tournaments of this year. Probably going to pick some other ones up in Wisconsin here and there. I'm not exactly sure. It is going to be freaking fall smallmouth season, so I'm jacked about that. Definitely going to be going up to Mille Lacs on that, and some different bodies of water, that is for sure. But winter is coming. Winter is in the air. The temperatures are starting to go down, but we still got a whole bunch of videos to make before we got to put the old Skeeter to sleep for the winter. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I appreciate everyone's support. I got a bunch of comments on Facebook wishing us good luck, and I appreciate all of you forever. You guys know that. I appreciate all the support with me and the channel and chasing the dream of fishing time, yada yada. But remember, keep chasing that dream, one fish at a time. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the